just doing last things. All right, well, welcome everyone to our inaugural, I guess, Dosa live stream. We have a very special guest today, Ajay Mehta, and a lot of you have already read his bio data. But in case you haven't, we will kind of run through it and we'll kick it off to him to start, to kind of give his background and tell us more about, you know, how he achieved all of these accomplishments.
Cool. Okay. Is that a jumping off point for me?
Yeah. So we'll just let you.
Perfect.
Sorry, I'm a little rusty. We're going to start with you.
Love it. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you for the bio data, by the way. Like I said I said in a tweet, I am very taken, so I'm not actually accepting requests here, but I did appreciate the bio data, and I am accepting requests for new friends for anyone out there that is interested. So I'm excited to be. Am I the first guest here? Are we doing this for the first time? Is this, or have we done one before?
We've done audio. We've never done video, so we've never really doxed ourselves like this. So this is a new thing.
Okay, well, we're fully doxed. In case anyone was wondering who was behind my avatar, it is me. Yeah, super excited to be on this. So yeah, from a bio data perspective, you know, I also love, you said my last name so Indian. I really appreciate that. It's never been said that way before in like an interview type of setting. Thank you for that. And I'm a big Dosa Dao fan. So I'm excited to be on here and chatting with you guys. I guess, yeah, we could go into any part of it that is interesting to folks. Like number one, like entrepreneurial journey, like in 2 minutes, is that I got my start in startups as an intern at Zillow. I grew up in Seattle. That's where I'm from. I managed to land like a minimum wage internship at the end of high school, going into college at Zillow, which at that time was, I'm like a little old now, I'm 30. At that time, Zillow was still like maybe 100, 150 people. It was not a public company yet. It was like growing and kind of well known, but not really yet. I mean, it was such a different era of startups that it's hard to compare it to startups today. It was a very, very exciting place for sure. And it was a lot of smart people that were working on really interesting, exciting problems. And it felt like I didn't really know anything about the work world. I was like 18 or whatever. But I just was surrounded by, in this like tall office building in downtown Seattle, which was like, you know, far from the suburb where I grew up in. It was like I was like surrounded by like super smart people that were just like working on like trying to make this website scale to millions of users and like give people all this transparency and info about their homes. And I just thought it was just like so inspiring and so cool. And then from that moment on, I was kind of like, I guess I just have to work in tech in some way or form. So that was sort of the initial inspiration. And then from then on, I started learning how to build little web apps. This was like 2010, 2011, the kind of era of web apps that you could just build. Like I'm not an engineer by any means, but I could even kind of, with a combination of some JavaScript and HTML, CSS stuff, just like throw things up online. Did that a bunch with a couple of good friends as I started college, and then ended up kind of leveraging that to get into Y Combinator back in 2012, where I co-founded a social network company called Family Leaf. It was like a private social network for you to share your life with your family online. And you could share. It was very like kind of a desi idea, honestly.
There's so many things there. Okay, let's back up. So your first job in tech was at Zillow. First of all, how did you even land that internship? Because I think a lot of us in this world end up doing the more traditional paths. I know that has been blown through with this new generation, but how did you finesse your way into Zillow to start?
Yeah, I guess I was very lucky. It was a Seattle-based company, and one of the co-founders, he was the COO. At the time he came into our like school, like my high school. I went to like public high school in Bellevue, which is right outside of Seattle. And he came in and gave a talk about like college, like admissions. He was a Harvard alum, and he was like talking about like applying and getting into, you know, elite colleges. And I guess it was just like a thing he was doing for fun as like an alumni or something. I'm not really sure, but I kind of like harassed him afterwards, got his email, sent like a number of really like annoying, probably if you were to read them today, but like, you know, eager emails of like, I want to learn about what it's like to work at the tech company, blah, blah. So kind of just like, you know, end up, what was that?
Can I pick your brain?
Yeah, exactly. Literally, can I pick your brain type stuff. And then he like was like, come in and interview with a few members of the team here. And I literally went in like a full suit with a tie, which is hilarious in retrospect, where, you know, everyone in there was wearing like cargo shorts and flip flops or whatever. It was very like, Zillow was a very like web 1.0 almost. I mean, I guess web 2.0 technically, but like it was a lot of people that had come from Expedia prior, who then left and co-founded Zillow, and they were a lot of like ex-Microsoft people. And so it was really like a little bit of a different era of tech company, not quite like, you know, Williamsburg, like latte drinking vibes that we have today.
Yeah, super interesting. Okay, so then fast forward, you had this idea and joined YC, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. And so did you apply to YC with the company idea, or like where did the startup idea for Family Leaf even come from?
We got in with a different idea. We got in with an idea that was it was more of like an athletics based, like sports based sort of social network idea. We ended up kind of feeling like that was a small market after working on it for a couple of months in YC. And so we pivoted midway through YC, and we were trying to solve a problem that we had, which was primarily that we didn't want our parents to be with us on Facebook, which was like a huge issue of that time. Was like, oh, is your mom going to add you on Facebook? Are they going to see your photos of you out with your friends drinking or whatever?
Oh my God.
And so we were like trying to solve that problem.
I had to block every auntie when I was growing up. No, and like the friends of my parents too, because the gossip would travel if someone saw me at a party.
And they all wanted to add you. It's funny. It feels like a kind of, anachronistic thing now, but that was totally like the reality of like being, 18 in, 2010 or whatever it was. 2012. So, that was why we started the company. It was sort of like this middle ground between like Facebook was the only thing, Instagram, even group texts and stuff weren't really a way of communicating with your family. WhatsApp chats became a thing a little bit later, but we were this private place online where you could share photos, share directory info, like all the like personal info, like birthdays and addresses and like all that stuff. Have like a private photo album. Have a plate, like a wall. We had like a family wall where everyone could like post. It was like a WhatsApp chat, but in like 2012, like through your web browser. And so, we ended up working on that. It was a very like basic idea. I obviously, family is like Indian American. My co-founder was Chinese American. And so both of us had very similar like family dynamics around that we ended up trying to address through Family Leaf.
Super interesting. Okay. And then what happened? What happened with Family Leaf? Did you ever end up hiring people? Like, how did you really go? There's a lot of founders in DaoSiDao, and so I think hearing kind of the grind and early days, like the hard truth, is part of why we have this community, to just help each other out and be open about the things that most people don't say. They only talk about the success. So if you have any like pivotal moments during that time, or how it was hiring your first employee, or how you thought about, exiting that company, et cetera, would be super curious to know.
Yeah, totally. So it was a bit of like a crazy whirlwind. And my takeaway from it is that I recommend everyone getting like some kind of entrepreneurial experience out of the way early, and just like learning as much as they can from that experience, but not necessarily like feeling like it has to be a big success. Like our experience was not a huge success, but that doesn't mean that I didn't learn a ton that I used for successes later. So we had our initial funding from YC, and then they had the start fund going on at that time, which was like an extra $150K on top of YC. At that point was only like $20K in funding or something like that. Obviously it's totally different now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was at that time. That was how they started. And then it ran that way for a while, probably until after PG left. Paul Graham was still like actively running YC at that time. So we got to spend a bunch of time with him, which was like incredible. And we had a small team. So we had two co-founders. It was three of us. We were like the kind of core team. And then we had, I guess, two additional employees that we brought on by the time we decided to kind of sell and wind down the company. We only really worked on it for maybe like 9 months or so after YC actually ended. So it was about a year all in. And, we built a product. We had like tens of thousands of users. We had some elements of product market fit. So we had some revenue, but it was all like relatively small. We were like 19 or 20 years old, all of us. And we were sort of like we don't really know what we're doing. We're not sure that this is like working that well. Like we're probably not growing fast enough, as fast as we would need to like raise more funding. And I think all of us were not as confident about the idea as we would have wanted to have been to like raise a lot more funding. So we just decided to like, okay, we actually sold to a competitor of ours that was another YC company that had pivoted to sort of like directly competing with us, and they had raised a bunch of money, and we sold to them. Origami, they were called. And so we sort of like wound it down by selling it to them, which was
wow.
Yeah, which was the right. It was like a great like answer for us, as opposed to like continuing to beat our heads against the wall when we weren't like super excited about what we were building.
That's
basically.
Interesting.
And then we sort of did that, and then picked up.
Not to make this like a whole founder thing, but it is really interesting because there's always this trade-off of, do you keep pushing and try to get to PMF, or do you like cut your losses? And if you have taken money, like I think there is some obligation to whoever gave you money, to some fiduciary responsibility to not blow it up if you know it's not going to work. And in today's world, maybe now it's changing, but for the last 5 years, everyone that's raised money has been told like, keep doing a bridge, like you have to shoot, like go for the moonshot. You see everything on Twitter. So pretty respectable that you were, self-aware, number one. And two, I just wonder, what was that decision like to kind of call it quits?
Yeah, we were sort of like, we definitely, we still had most of our money in the bank from YC and a few angels that we had raised from after YC. And we also were able to sell the company for some money. And so we did return almost all the money back to our investors. And we felt like that was like a little bit of a scratch, it wasn't like a win or like a huge loss. We were like, learned a lot, validated this idea, worked on it for about a year, decided that we didn't like need to keep going and try to raise more money. So let's just let's operate with enough integrity here that our investors hopefully would want to back us again in the future with whatever we do next. So that was sort of how I was thinking about it. And luckily we were able to like find a buyer for the company that kept operating it and gave us, paid out to us, which ultimately just went directly back to our investors. Right. But that was a better outcome than just like, as you said, continuing to burn through what we had and winding it down at nothing.
Respect. Okay, that's awesome. And so then, not to put you on the spot, but I already knew some of the stories. So you then went back to school.
I did. Yes,
okay,
I did. Well, there was a whole interlude in the middle there where I joined a company called Tilt. That was a friend of mine in YC. Actually, me and one of my co-founders from Family Leaf, and then one of our employees all went to join this company, Tilt. It was like one of my good friends from YC that was building an incredible company that like, it was a crowdfunding company. They were like, they were in the process of raising a Series A from Andreessen at the time. And I basically, we joined them as like employees number like 20, 21, 22 or something like that. So it was almost a little bit of like a talent acquisition on their front. That was like a whole 1.5-year journey after my YC experience that then was incredible. I learned so much. That company ended up getting bought by Airbnb. Although that was after I left. Yeah. And then I left and did go back to school in New York. So yeah, and going back to school was amazing. I'm happy to talk about that for anyone that's interested in either taking a break from school, going back to school, transferring, like all that.
So interesting. We have a question from the audience, which is,
okay,
what was it like having your own company and then going to work for someone else? I mean, I guess you kind of talked about that, but.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was, I was really, it was a little bit of a relief, to be honest, because I was sort of like, it was like having my own company was something that I really thought that I wanted, really did want, went through the experience of, and then it was such a draining and difficult process that I was like, actually, it's nice to not have the weight of the success or failure of the company on my shoulders, which is kind of how it feels when you start something. And so I would say I would have I think with the benefit of 8-10 years of time since then, there's a lot of advantages to being a founder. And I think at this point, it would probably be a hard sell for me to go and like work for someone or work for a larger company. But at that time, I was 20. I was sort of like, scarred from the experience of trying to, launch this startup. And I was like, this is actually really nice. I get to work for like a co-founding team that I really, really respect. I had like a lot of autonomy within the company to like launch new products and build stuff. And that ended up actually feeling like really great. I felt like I was actually able to make a lot more progress on what I was doing because I wasn't like holding myself back by being the ineffective CEO.
Yes. Wow, super self-aware. And it actually goes back to what you were saying in the beginning, that everyone should have some sort of hustle that they try in the beginning, because you get that entrepreneurial spirit and you can take that to your next role. Okay, really interesting. So you family leave, Tilt. You then went to, we have to get it all the facts right for this bio.
Okay.
Obviously, family leave,
Perfect.
Tilt, went back to school, got your degree, and we're in New York living the dream. What happened next?
Yeah, it was New York. I miss New York. I live in LA now, and so I do miss New York a lot, and it was living the dream for sure. So I graduated with a degree in computer science from Columbia, which is where I initially went to NYU, and then I transferred. Yeah, step up.
I feel like people have
in some
put
sense.
emojis. Yeah, there were a lot of reactions to when we said Columbia.
Okay, nice. Well, I loved NYU as well. Honestly, NYU lapsed my enrollment after I left to do YC, because I had taken a semester off and then extended to a year off, and then I was like, can I get a third semester off? And then they were like, no, you have to reapply now. And so I applied and transferred to this Columbia program. That was great. And then when I graduated, I actually ended up then taking another job in tech. I worked for I joined. It was friends from YC that had started a company called Wealth Simple up in Canada. And they were probably 40, 50 employees at the time. And they basically were I got back in touch with the co-founders, and they were looking for someone to help them launch in the US and in the UK. The company is now like a fintech unicorn. At that time, it was relatively early. They had just done their first round. But now, last year, they raised at like a $4 billion valuation or something. Anyone from Canada probably knows Wealth Simple as a company. And so I worked there for almost 2 years. After finishing school, I was just like, I don't really feel excited to hop right into the founder journey thing, but I want a really exciting kind of dynamic tech role. And so I was the GM of international, where I was running product operations for launching in the US first and then launching in the UK. It was awesome. It's such a great company. They're crushing it. They've launched crypto trading and individual stock trading in Canada. They're the leading stock trading app in Canada, kind of like Robinhood, one of the leading crypto buying apps. They have a tax product. They have a Venmo type product. They're kind of becoming this fintech super app of Canada. So that was a really great experience, and happy to talk more about that. And then a couple of years later, and this is back in 2019, I guess, leaped back into the founder thing with what I'm currently doing, which is co-founding a couple of direct-to-consumer businesses.
Okay, so this is really interesting to your pivot and to jump into, which is, you went from going all software, the classic San Francisco tech dream, to all of a sudden, I should have actually brought the product, but to now doing, do you have product samples? To now doing notebooks, candles.
I got some notebooks as well.
Yeah, things that, people in the tech world and even the crypto world, who are, where all of us are super digital, almost look down upon sometimes, oh, it's a direct to consumer business, but you are slinging some massive deals and you are crushing it. You're growing so quickly. So everyone needs to pay attention. I would love to hear about how you came up with the idea for therapy. And guys, just so everyone knows, he's a revenue generating entrepreneur. So in crypto, that's a pretty high benchmark. So you're really killing it. So I would love to hear about the journey for both those products.
Thanks. Yeah. I honestly don't spend that much time around crypto founders explicitly, so I'd love to hear people's thoughts. So basically for me, definitely I think the common thread between everything that I've done that also led me to this is that I love just consumer stuff. Mm-hmm. And so that could be consumer products, kind of what I'm doing now, consumer tech products, which was Wealth Simple and Tilt and Family Leaf. But they all had some tie of relating to people in the moment of where they are, solving their needs, helping them with, whatever issues or kind of needs that they might have. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what's always just been super exciting to me. And so I guess specifically with Birthdate Co was the first one I launched. So we launched with this Birthdate candles, which is a candle with a reading and a scent specifically for the day you were born. There's a full personality reading on the back here, and it's based on your astrology and your numerology and your tarot. So here, this is an April 18th candle. It has geranium and cedarwood and scent. It has a full reading on the back. It has a specific tarot card, ruling planet, ruling number for the person born on that day. And this idea was really sparked by, so it started a little bit as a side project that then kind of like took over my life. And it was, I honestly always kind of wanted to launch a physical product of some kind, because I think like when it comes to like pure like willingness to pay and sort of like the way that consumers relate to physical products, it is so different from how people relate to tech products. Obviously you can build like massive platforms. People do spend a lot of money for apps and consumer sites sometimes, but in most cases it's like, why would I pay $4.99 to subscribe to this workout app or this social network thing for in-app purchases or whatever, and spending $38 on a candle is like, they're excited to do that as opposed to like afraid of it. I worked for a number of at Wealthsimple and at Tilt, and frankly at Family Leaf too. I had a number of experiences where I was building consumer tech apps, and then like it was so like the process of finding product market fit of like, even when people enjoyed using it, trying to get them to pay for anything was like really, really tough. Or it was like, even when you have product market fit with a certain group of people, like growing it and kind of like, it always felt a little bit like I was trying to like sell people on like, this is why you should use Wealthsimple for your investing, and like selling people on the fee being worthwhile and all that. And it was a very different experience to just design and create products. It's been starting with Birthdate candles. Now we have Birthdate books. We have tarot candles. Like I know you have one of, with the therapy notebooks that I've made and so on. Like it's such a different experience of just having a customer see it and then just be like, I want that. Like I know my sister would want that, my friend, my mom, whatever. That's been so different from the experience of like trying to, push an app down someone's throat a little bit and get them to pay for it. So that was the initial spark of, and it was honestly like wanting to do my own thing again. But so that was kind of step one, like easier to justify paying for things like that for most people.
That's true. That's such a good point though, that it's funny because everyone pitches that you have free distribution, but like the sales is much harder. And you're right, I will spend $50 on a candle because it sets the right vibe, like for dumb shit like that.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, absolutely. Or think about it as a gift for someone too, right? Totally valid to spend $50 to, make your friend's birthday or your aunt's Christmas, like amazing, right? Whereas people aren't often spending that kind of money on apps. So that was one big piece of it. Second piece of it was that I really wanted to launch after starting, I guess, a venture funded business, and then being close to a few, CEOs, founding teams of venture funded businesses that had raised a lot more money. Tilt, we raised 70, 80 million. Wealthsimple, I think at this point has raised hundreds of millions. I'm not sure exactly what the number is at, but after being really, really close inside, like building these companies, I was like, I want to do something that does not require that. I want to do a bootstrap business, and Birthday's been entirely bootstrapped and now, 8 figures the past couple of years in terms of top line revenue and profitable on that revenue, obviously profitable because we literally don't have any investors. So there's no other source of capital we're tapping into. And so, it was this idea of wanting to start a business that was run differently from like, I have to make a deck, I have to go and pitch around to people, I have to get, hundreds of thousands or millions in the bank and then build my thing and then hope to one day make enough revenue to sort of like justify the investor's valuation of the company or whatever it is. Not that there's absolutely anything wrong with that. It was just like, I want to do this differently. I want to like make a product that people hopefully want, and I want to sell it for more than I made it for. And that was it. And so it started with that. And it was like, it honestly started as a little bit more of like, this could be a great lifestyle business. Maybe this could like pay my salary so I don't have to get a job, and then I can kind of like spend time thinking about what I might want to build. But then it just struck a chord with people, and immediately people were into it. And then, by the end of we launched in June 2019, and by the end of that year, we had sold like over $1 million in candles, and we were like on the Today Show and like in like BuzzFeed gift guide roundups and stuff. And then I was like, oh, there's really something here. Like we're doing something for people that is like helping them. Like we're helping people give better gifts. We're helping people learn more about themselves. We're just giving people a cool thing to put on their coffee table because it's vibey or whatever. And that it felt good. It was like, it felt good like any kind of consumer product market fit does. And then I was like, I can keep doing this. This is really, really fun. And it's fun to have something that's like really landing with people.
So awesome. Okay. So how did you I understand the why, but how did you come up? Like, are you personally really into tarot and astrology? How did you even come up with the idea to put that on a candle? That's my first question. I have a lot of questions.
Okay, cool. Astrology, I think, not only was having like a really serious moment, or just sort of growing through social media back in 2018 when we sort of conceived of the idea, but also has always been something that's been of like personal fascination for me. I think anyone that can relate to like flipping to the back of like the newspaper for the horoscopes,
Right.
Or like, just getting horoscopes, reading them online or whatever it is. Also, like specifically for those Sadao people, I don't know if anyone had like a kundli made for them, or like a horoscope, right?
Yeah.
Like it's obviously so big in South Asian culture. Like getting your horoscope done, like, I remember my like an aunt or someone in my family like had like the kundli made for every single one of us, and so I have a book that I remember being given when I was like 10 or 12 years old. That's like the Ajay. It's basically like a first version of our Birthdate book, which is a personalized birth chart book. It was sort of inspired by the kundli, to be honest. It was like this printed out book that's like, here's your name, here's your birth info, date of birth, time of birth, place of birth. And now, like, let's like create a whole book length description of like, I mean, the kundli is crazy. I wish I had mine right here. It's somewhere in this house. But like, it was like, like this is what's gonna happen when you're 15. This is what's gonna happen when you're 18. This is what's gonna happen when you're 22. These are the kinds of professions you're gonna be into. This is the kind of person that you're gonna want to marry. This is when you should get married. This is like it has like this whole. It's like, and it's all done by like this. Astrologer. I forget what the names are for them in India, like what they're actually like the title is, but like it's actually just done. There's families have astrologers that they go and reference. They have all this like these software, these people that work and like turn out these horoscopes, and it's such a big part of the culture. So I think just knowing, so it's a huge part of Indian culture. It's a huge part of global culture, right? It's for Chinese culture, the astrology of like the year of the X, right? That's all their system of astrology. And then there's the Western system of astrology, the kind of Greek system, which is what we know, right? Aries, Taurus, Cancer, Virgo, so on. So it's just like a fascinating thing that applies to like everyone around the world. Clearly like has very special resonance with people that are young now, whether it's like younger millennials, Gen Z, even younger, like it just like is something that really, really resonates with people as sort of like a modern spirituality. And so I just thought it was like a really, really interesting place to like create a product or create a brand.
Super crazy. And so how did you go from, I guess number one, how did you acquire and accumulate the knowledge to actually create a physical product? Because that's a whole different ball game. You have to deal with vendors, suppliers, like it's not just you code and ship something. So did you have a partner, or how did you learn about all of that whole world, I guess?
Yeah, totally. I have a co-founder in the business that helped, but we got the business started together. But primarily, honestly, I did lead all the physical product development because we basically were able to, I mean, honestly, once you've developed digital products and like, and all that, it's sort of like a very similar process to design any type of product. I think if you start a little bit from the beginning and say, okay, this is what we kind of want to make. Let's start with like the audience that we're making it for and what their needs are, what their problems are, what their likes and dislikes are, and then just try out some designs, like try mocking something up and then just showing it to people and seeing what they like, what they hate about it. I actually have to dig these up because the original drawings of like what the birthday candle would look like, first of all, it wasn't even birthday based. It was just sign based. It was like, and then even when we had it being birthday based, it was like, it looked so different and so ugly and just so entirely different from what it ended up becoming, that just that process of like, make something, design it, show it to people, get their feedback, iterate, show it to people, like iterate, like get their feedback, iterate, right? Like continuing to do that over and over again is like, honestly, just how I think you design anything awesome. And so like, It's how you design physical products, how you design digital products and so on. The rest of it wasn't rocket science in the sense that like we had to talk to a bunch of different manufacturers. We found the best candle manufacturer that we could, that was making everything in the US, kind of walked us through the process of like what's needed, like what different types of wax are, how to use them, where fragrances are made, how that kind of goes in, what kinds of vessel you should select for all sorts of things, whether it's the quality of the burn of the candle, the fragrance throw, all that stuff. Like we just learned a ton by like just talking to as many people as we could that are in like the candle manufacturing world to start. And then, we sort of like honestly approaching it from the outside too. I think we had like no one else that I can think of has a process or a supply chain where like candles are actually made to order, but that's how ours are made. like we actually get an order for like a November 2nd candle, and we will produce it right then and there in like 3 or 4 days and ship it out to you, like 2 or 3 days, and ship it out to you.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, how are you holding like, do you hold inventory for hot birthdays or like the popular ones?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
when we make them to order, right? So we kind of like have a bunch of inventory of all of our different fragrances of candles, and then, orders will come in, we'll sort of make them, like we'll actually like kind of hand make them at first. Now there's like, they're made more automatically because we're shipping thousands a week. But like, it's actually made when the orders come in. So like the inventory it's not quite like we have a bunch of candles sitting on a shelf that are like already made for November 2nd. It's that we'll actually like produce those candles as they come in with the correct scent and the correct reading that's meant for that day. And so even that, like we kind of like, a little bit, and it's actually way more so with our books, which are like so customized that it's your name, your birthday, your birth chart, everything is printed right on the front. So like, essentially it is a little bit of a tech product, to be honest, because like we get your birth info. We have an entire like backend system that'll compute your birth chart, that'll like compute like what needs to go in your book, all the information needs to go in your book. And then we'll like send that off as a PDF to our book printers to actually get it printed and then actually like package it and fulfill it out. So it's not quite like we just like printed a bunch of books and they're sitting in a warehouse and we ship them out whenever it comes in, right? Like we're actually like making these things on demand. And so that ends up being a little bit of a tech. I mean, it is a tech challenge as well as a physical product one.
Yeah. I wonder if like there are a lot of people that make birth charts and make those books. I wonder how they feel about your algorithm and reading. Probably totally. Don't love you, but it's fine. Okay. So how did you even, so you had the product, you figured out all the supply, you figured out all the vendors, you got the product. How did you blow it up? Like $1 million in revenue in year one, or in sales in year one, is crazy. Yeah. What's the hack?
Yeah. I mean, a combination of a couple of things. I mean, it was, we did like quite a bit of like organic, I guess 3 main things that led us to blowing up the way we did in the first year. One was like press, like we just we emailed a ton of different, like the BuzzFeed, Today shows, of the world, tried to get in as many places included as we could. 'Cause that's kind of like a free way, like without hiring a PR firm, is kind of a free way of just trying to get eyeballs on your product. So once they would cover us and we would see some sales come in and just see more traffic come in through that. And then probably secondly, we did quite a bit of like influencer seeding and influencer gifting. So like, people that are like, honestly, if you have kind of a cool differentiated product that's different from what people have seen, and you reach out to the right people at this time in 2019, it was Instagram. Today it'd probably be TikTok, but like trying to get in front of the, the people who are going to like include you in a post about you, tag you, and so on. Like we did quite a lot of that. And then of course the classic, Facebook and Instagram ads, which again worked a lot better in 2019, 2020, 2021 than they do today. But was just an amazing way for us to be able to spend like $100, $200 on finding customers and making that math work of like, are we going to sell enough candles with that, X dollars of spend to actually justify and be profitable on?
Right.
And that worked really, really well. And continues to work. We obviously now spend quite extensively across that channel, but also TikTok, Google, we run TV ads, we send postcards, we do like every marketing channel under the sun now, because it's sort of justified, like for us to, if we're making money, if we're profitable on these channels, we'll continue investing in them. But at the outset, it really is an incredible way to just like grow and get initial customers. So those were the main 3, like PR, influencer gifting, sort of like Instagram ads.
Crazy. Yeah. If he's launched this now, it'd definitely be TikTok. Someone asked, do you think COVID played a role in like your timing around COVID? Because I didn't know this, but I guess COVID blew up the candle industry. Didn't know that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Blew up in a good or bad way?
I think good way. Good way.
Candles yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, not literally blew up.
No, but there were a couple of really important tailwinds from COVID, and then also headwinds. So like, I guess starting with the tailwinds, like, 100%. Like, we, along with like every other product in the sort of like home or gifting, or frankly, like the entirety of e-commerce, ended up benefiting a ton from COVID. Like a lot of that demand was just like pulled forward. Again, we launched mid 2019. So we had significant success. Like we were probably at, I don't know what the number was, but maybe 1 to 2 million in sales in total before COVID actually happened. So I felt like we have product market fit. We've demonstrated this is something people want. We like are a hot product in some sense. And then COVID just like took all that and like poured crazy gas on it because everyone was stuck at home. Everyone was shopping online. Everyone was scrolling on social media. People wanted nice things for their home. They also wanted to send gifts to other people who they weren't like around, like, you know, celebrate someone's birthday. You weren't going to see them for dinner. Maybe you send them a gift, like one of our candles. So like that ended up being like a very positive sort of like multiplier, honestly, for us and for, I mean, pretty much every e-commerce business, except the ones that were not doing well then, like suitcase companies, because no one's traveling or, you know, whatever else. Although now they're doing well. So there's kind of been like a reversal. But yeah, we definitely benefited a ton from like the COVID e-commerce boom. And I would say those were the tailwinds. The headwinds were more like, and luckily we didn't have to deal with this as much, but like anyone making anything abroad, where a lot of, you know, people are making candles in like, you know, Asia, Vietnam or China or something like that. They were like hit, or like making packaging abroad, like totally hit by like crazy increased freight costs, super unreliable, like port closures and supply chain closures and whatever. We were definitely affected by that a little bit, like in terms of, but we don't really get, pretty much everything we do is domestically sourced. But even still, like even like our timelines on like our glass manufacturers to that we put the, you know, the candle jars that we use, like the you know, the wax, even though it's all locally sourced, like still had delays. So like there was like supply chain issues that popped up, although we were insulated from most of it because we make everything in the US. And then the other headwind, I guess, for candles specifically was that like there was this hilarious thing where like Yankee Candle like reviews on Amazon, or like popular candle reviews on Amazon would like get like they would all get like 1 star when there were huge bursts of COVID because no one could like smell them, and all the reviews were like, this candle has no scent, this candle has no scent, but like people had COVID. So that's funny. I thought was maybe what you were referring to. But,
no, that's funny though. Yeah, and I always did you ever feel that it would be hard to launch a candle direct to consumer, because you don't do any physical, right? It's all done direct to consumer.
Yeah, we don't yet. We're actually opening next week our New York City pop-up, our first retail pop-up next on the 10th. So next Thursday, I think it is. That's opening. I'm super excited about that. So it's going to be on Elizabeth Street in Nolita, like Soho area.
Perfect.
We'll have an actual store, and yeah, we're super excited to like bring our products to life with real, though you can get an aura reading there. You can drop in and pick up your candle. You can get your book customized. We're actually have a brand new product launch that's coming soon. Actually, I guess I can show you guys a tiny preview. I have it like on the desk in front of me, but it's very top secret. So don't talk about this yet. We're launching soon. But we have Birthdate pendants.
Oh, wow.
That are going to be launching
That's
soon.
so cool. That's cool.
Okay. I'm going to hide it now because it's secret. But that they're going to be super personalized to your individual birthday. And so we're going to have all this at the store, which we're super excited about. But we have not done retail yet. We make super personalized products, so it kind of doesn't make sense for us to try to stock them at like Target or whatever. Mm-hmm. Honestly, Target has knocked us off. They have like candles for each sign that have like a ruling number on them and have like similar scent profiles to ours that they launched like 6 months ago.
Whoa.
After we had sold, you know, hundreds of thousands of candles. So, you know, Target, we see you, but we can't really stock our products there because our whole thing is that we make like really thoughtfully customized products, and it just wouldn't make sense for us to go out to like the, you know, the big retailers of the world.
Yeah. This is like such an interesting story because the normal challenge that D2C companies have, or like the goal for them is, if you see, they all eventually want distribution in Walmart and Target. And so you're really paving your own category where like you've combined luxury, personalization, and direct to consumer. Like it's great. It's super impressive. Okay, amazing. So I'm just gonna give me one second.
Any new question? Yeah, I gotta
let's see what's going on.
Log on here.
Twitch stream. Let's see. I'm not on the link. Okay, no questions yet. How you fundraised? You already talked about it. There's a lag, which is awesome.
Alpha. Love that.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
Amazing.
Whatever else you want to talk about, we can.
Yeah, I don't want to keep this too long, but I mean, I guess in general, so, you know, I'd love your take. Clearly you understand where consumer products are going. I'd love your take on just like South Asian culture right now, and because I feel like we're on this kind of edge, or it feels like things are about to blow up, where I don't know if it's because of COVID, I don't know if it's because of TikTok, but the whole like brown diaspora is coming to the West. I really feel it with music. I feel it like with organizations like ours, with brands, like all these random consumer brands starting. Like there was one that's ghee for your, like there's one, I think it's called Glee, which is like chapstick but using ghee, and that's taking
Oh my
off.
God.
Like there is like some insane innovation. So I feel I feel like someone like you who's like made it in the traditional tech world, not having really thought about, or just in the someone who's a successful entrepreneur who hasn't really thought about being Indian maybe in your day-to-day of building a business. How do you think about some of these trends and this new demographic really coming online, really participating in the more entrepreneurial world versus maybe before they were in, you know, professional services? Does that worry you? Are there any thoughts you have around this space? Really broad question, but just want to talk about your experience and where you see things going.
Yeah, totally. No, I mean, I think like something like those that is so exciting because it's like a way for a lot of like people maybe with like some shared elements of their background, like in terms of culture or anything, right? Like that can sort of like collect together online in a way that's like just different from how I think all of us felt growing up. And so I think that is really, really exciting and cool. And I think more like incredible things are going to come from things like organizations like those Thou. And like, honestly, just generally like the impact, like it's still insane to me to like go on to Netflix and see there was that one week where like the Mindy Kaling
like
show was like
3.
number 1, and then like number 2 was like Indian matchmaking and like whatever else, you know, Hassan Minaj, and like the culture, South Asian culture is mainstream at this point, frankly, like South Asian American culture. And I think like a lot is going to follow from that. You have South Asian culture hitting like every part of like the cultural spectrum, from like, you know, Bodhi, like like high end, most fashionable, like the most loved, like, you know,
it's
couture
insane.
high fashion brand is literally like completely Indian inspired. You know, for better for worse there. You have like all the trends on the sort of like food and supplements and wellness side. Like ghee is obviously super hot, as is
turmeric,
you know, turmeric, right? Or like ashwagandha and like things like that. And so, you know, you sort of have South Asian culture, food practices, like everything from Ayurveda to like, you know, yoga obviously is like super mainstream. And so I think like the thing I'm excited to see is that I feel like hopefully more brown people will like take up points of leadership of like trying to like make these things happen. And it's starting to happen already for sure. But like, it is like, I think the largest, you know, cool turmeric brand is like totally owned by a white person. You know, like a lot of the largest yoga companies and franchises that have spread super, you know, internationally or nationally are like, you know, white people started and owned. Nothing wrong with that at all. But I think I'm excited to see like our generation of like South Asians that are like, you know, excited about promoting things that are related and tie back to the culture in some way, and then like bringing those to a larger group of people. And there's examples of it that inspire me for sure. Like I think there's a company, Diaspora Co., that does like really thoughtfully sourced like spices that are like incredible, like from turmeric to chili powder to things like that. Like that's so cool. It's like I think a Indian American person who started and runs that company. There's like stuff like a restaurant here in LA called Pizza Palace that's like blown up recently, it's like a sports bar, but they have like pizza and pasta, but it's all Indian themed. And it's like, just, that sounds crazy, but it's like so well executed and so delicious. And like, just a good example of like someone of more of our generation, not like our parents or aunts and uncles, sort of created something that was like this fusion of like really dope South Asian, really dope Western things that, you know, they love, and then like made this experience for everyone else. So I think that's just going to happen more and more and more. And like, it's a very exciting time. I think I'm really happy we were born now and not, you know, 10 years earlier, because that would be rough. And then all the people that are, you know, young, very young now, I think it's like an even more exciting time than ever before. Yeah.
Totally. Thank you for those examples. What's the restaurant called?
Pizza Palace, like Pijja. I think it's like a play on like how like uncles say pizza.
We can't even hate. We can't even hate.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It's in Silver Lake. It's really good. It's really, really good. We should do a Dos Now event there and rent it out. It is like the hottest restaurant in LA right now, so it might be like hard to do, but we should do that.
We'll get him on an interview. That'll warm his heart. That's so interesting. I mean, for me, when I think about the younger generation, it's actually, there was a lot, at least for me personally, I felt that, and I'm like right at the cusp, like right before everyone would be, I'm not Gen Z, so I'm right above that, doxing my age, but it was more competitive, like, because there weren't that many Indian people that, you know, not competed, but there weren't that many Indian people in these industries outside of doctor and lawyer. And so everyone that was working in the creative space, and from what I've heard from, you know, or fashion, like it was super, super cutthroat. And I'm noticing this next generation is very collaborative. Like it's very much, let's all make it together. Oh, you're opening a restaurant. Let's all show up there and throw an event there to put you on the map. So that to me is what's really exciting. This like new positive energy, because there's no really like trauma of having to be competitive with your peers. It's very pure, right? You're coming in like, oh, this is just part of my identity, and I see cultural references that are brown, I see role models, so I'm just gonna go build. And it doesn't feel as much of a thing as, you know, maybe 5-6 years ago, someone empowered, like they would make it a point to say, yeah, I'm Indian, or you'd have to advocate and be really proud to differentiate, where you don't really have to do that anymore. Maybe I'm rambling, but these are some thoughts.
Totally agreed. No, I think that's very true. And I think it's just going to be across the board. I'm sure that even in those more traditional spaces, doctor or lawyer and so on, engineer, like there will be so many talented South Asian people, you know, but I think it's cool that there'll be enough of a pathway tread to like do creative work, you know, art, design, entrepreneurship, you know, like restaurant opening, right? Like there's just gonna be a lot more room because people will have blazed the trail a little bit more, which is even something that exists so much more now than it did 10 or 15 years ago, and will continue to like only multiply. But now it's like, yeah, we got a PM in the UK that's of South Asian descent. Insane. We have a lot of leaders across like every field that are of South Asian descent. It's almost like, it's not just going to happen in these underrepresented fields. I think it's just going to like happen everywhere.
I mean, isn't it like a quarter? I would say like almost, I don't actually know the exact stat. I don't want to say a quarter, but a large percentage of the world, it's at least 10% of the world is somewhat South So if not more. So we'll edit this. That
makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. There's no post on a live stream.
Yeah.
So gonna take that back. Anyways, but it's super exciting and even scary because, you know, at least in the Western world, a lot of us were raised by like super tiger parents, and maybe we had some restrictions on what we could do and what we couldn't do. And if you remove those restrictions with the same level of like discipline, hustle, it's like this group is really going to take over. So I'm like, okay, I'm here to support. But yeah, this is awesome. Thank you so much I want to wrap up because I think we're coming on time. Thank you so much for doing this, being our inaugural live stream, and just, yeah, for the good vibes in Dosa Dao. And if there's anyone, let me check the chat, but if anyone wants to reach out to you, what's
the best
please.
Way to do it? I would love to. It'd be fun to, I feel like what I'm missing from like a Twitter space is just like having other people hop in and chat too, which would be fun to, I don't know if we could do that with this tool, but like, yeah, really, we'd be really happy to just hear anyone's thoughts, chat with anyone, anytime. Yeah.
Perfect. Product suggestion. So we'll implement that for future ones. But yeah, thank you so much. Thanks everyone who joined. Everyone's saying thank you, that they want to check out Pija Palace.
We can do I feel like we can do the thank you here, and it's like not ironic.
Yeah, it's not ironic. Okay, well, thank you so much. We'll see you in the Discord.
Thanks, Maya.
All right.
Okay, see you guys soon. Okay, bye.
Bye.